Hello and welcome. In this video we are going to take a look at how to create a quick little Hello World tutorial for JavaScript. So I'm going to go ahead and load Visual Studio. You can actually get away with just using Notepad if you want to. However, my preferred choice is to use Visual Studio. I think it's a great IDE. And it's actually free to download and use. There's a free version that you can go ahead and use, so if you're a student I'd recommend you check that out. I might cover that in another video, so yeah, I'm sure that will be helpful. But let's get back on track. Let's create a new project. ASP.NET Web Application. Next. I'm going to leave everything as it is and click Create. I'm going to click on web forms, although it doesn't really make much a difference in this instance. Like I say, you could literally just knock a couple of text files together and do this, but I like using Visual Studio. Let's go ahead and right click our project. We're going to say add, literally just going to add a HTML file. There we go, HTML page. I'm going to leave it with the default name. And as you can see, nothing special. We've just got ourselves a HTML file. I'm going to tab this out a little bit just so that it looks a little bit nicer. I always like to ensure all of my code is tabbed out nicely. I find it easier to read. So let's go ahead and find this file. Right click, view in a browser. Let's just see what we're dealing with here. Make sure it loads, and it should. And it has loaded, but it's a bit difficult to tell because there's nothing on the page. So let's go ahead and just add a little header1 tag just so that we can see that the page has loaded. I'm just gonna literally give this the name of the page, HTML page 1, save it, alt tab back and refresh, and as you can see, there we have it. The page has loaded, but obviously we have no JavaScript. So let's go ahead and have a play. I'm going to show you a couple of ways of doing this, starting with the simplest. Now, the first way to do it is type on load. Now, obviously, you can see here, as you type on, you've got loads of different events that you can wire up. In this instance, this is just a simple Hello World tutorial, so we're going to go for the onload event. And essentially, what this means is that because we've put it on the body tag, it means that once the page, everything within the body tag has loaded, then we'll execute some JavaScript. I am actually in this instance going to put the JavaScript in line. So what we're going to do is we're going to type alert, which is essentially a little function, open and close brackets, and now in there we want to type what we want to essentially pop up. Now obviously we need to put a little two quotes, single quotes, and I'm going to put obviously Hello World, which would make sense, wouldn't it, since it's a Hello World tutorial. Now I'm going to click Control S for save, and then I'm going to Alt Tab back to the browser. Now we can click refresh, or we can click F5. I'm going to hit F5. There we have it. So I don't know if you can see that, but we've got localhost says Hello World. So I'm going to click OK there. So as you can see, that's how we get a little alert pop up. However, this isn't ideal. I wouldn't recommend using inline JavaScript. We can do a little bit better, I think. So let's go to the head section and let's add a couple of script tags. So this is the great thing with Visual Studio. It finishes off the tags for you, which admittedly is slightly lazy, but hey, anything to make life a little bit easier. Let's copy that code. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put that code into the script block, but it won't work. What we need to do is we want to put it inside a nice little function. So function hello world, open and close round brackets, not that we're passing anything to it, and then we want open and closed squiggly braces, or braces I suppose you would call them. Let's copy our alert line and throw that within the function. Now you don't have to because you've only got one line, but it's good practice to use a semicolon. In this instance it won't really make a difference, but I always like to put a semicolon on the end of my code. Well, every line of code has a semicolon. So let's go ahead and call this function. Nice and simple. We're just going to copy the name of the function and we're going to put it within the onload event here. So hello world. Okay, that looks good. Control S to save. Let's Alt Tab back and let's hope it works. Let's click refresh, and indeed it does work. Hello world. Let's go ahead and put hello world and hello world again. Click save. We go back, refresh. We've got hello world and then hello world again. Now if we hadn't put the semicolon on the end, I don't think it would work. Let's have a go. Save that and refresh. Hello world again. Well, it does actually work. How cool is that? Oh well, I guess JavaScript just isn't particularly too fussy at, but hey, I'm still going to do it. So let me get rid of that second line, and again, this looks better. So having it like this is much better than having the JavaScript inline, I personally would say. It's much cleaner. However, I still think we can do better. So let me show you one more way, and this is the way that I would typically manage my JavaScript code. Let's right click. Well, let's go over here and we can see there's a nice little folder here which is called scripts. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on scripts, click add, and there we go, a little JavaScript file there. I'm just going to leave it the default name because this is just a tutorial, it doesn't really matter. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this function, okay? I'm going to cut the function. Let's go back to the JavaScript file and let's paste it in. Okay, nice. Save it and let's Control Tab back. Now we don't need this anymore. Get rid of that. And we will still need this because we are still going to be calling that function. It's just that it's in another file. So we need to tell the page where the file is. So again, another good reason for using Visual Studio is I'm literally going to grab the file and I'm going to drag it over and release. And as you can see, it did some of the coding for us, so superb, right? And again, it's a script block, but instead of putting the code within the script block, what we've gone ahead and done is we've linked to a source file which is in scripts, which is the folder, and then javascript.js. JavaScript is the name of our file and JS is the extension. So if I save that and go back, let's refresh, and again we get hello world. Just to prove that we are actually doing that, let's go ahead and add another one on the end, and we'll say how are you doing, question mark, save, Alt Tab back, let's refresh the page, hello world, and how are you doing? So this was just a little tutorial, just a bit of a mess about with JavaScript. If you've never used JavaScript before, you may have found this useful, and if you did, why not like the video for me? That would be superb. And likewise, if you would like to see similar content to this in the future, consider subscribing, and until next time, take care.